Alhamdulillah, wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His forgiveness, we pray for His protection. We seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of Satan and from the evils in ourselves. I bear witness that nothing is worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet Muhammad, even Abdullah, is his message and his servant. Today we're just going to have a synopsis of Salaat. I brought this book, this bag here, just as for effect. These books, this book is just about Salaat. This book alone is about Salaat. All these books are about Salaat. And this book, written by the late Imam Bernard Fareed, and may Allah forgive him in paradise, is about Salaat. And so if we think that we know Salaat, know that we are only scratching the surface of Salaat. I just brought these books for effect, because I heard the brother Imam tell everybody after Salat al-Jum'ah that he could come and they could ask their questions. So I welcome questions, but please don't try to teach this class or make a presentation through me. Let me present it to you, and then you can ask questions, because I'm sure they're going to ask you some, inshallah. We just heard Brother call the adhan before we perform Dhuhr prayer. And even during the adhan, while he's calling the adhan, we can say to ourselves, when he says, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, we can repeat that to ourselves. We repeat it to ourselves. Allah is greater, Allah is greater. And when he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, then, la ilaha illallah, we know that it means there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah. When he says Muhammad Rasulullah, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, we repeat that to ourselves. When he gets to the part, Hayya ala salah, come to prayer, and Hayya falah, then you don't repeat that. You say, La quwwata illa billah. But pardon me. You say there is no power or strength except through Allah after those. And the rest, when he repeats, we repeat that after him to ourselves. You know, we still aren't into this actual Salat yet. We're just the adhan. Prior to the adhan, there's wudu, or ghusl, cleanliness. Cleanliness. We're talking about the rules of Salat now. Cleanliness. We have to clean ourselves. It's very important. That's a part of our religion, to be clean. And so when we are making our presentation, our thankfulness, and our begging to the Creator, should not we be clean? We should be clean. You don't go to work dirty. You don't go out in the evening dirty. You don't go out before you take a bath. And so we should do that before presenting ourselves to our Maker, to our Creator. What is Salat? It's the communication with our Maker. And so one of the first things that we do is make sure that we are clean and presentable. And I dressed like this today. I mean, most of you who know me know I usually wear a suit or something of that nature. You don't have to have on a suit. But the brothers have dress codes too, not just the sisters. And I've noticed, and I've heard complaints that some of the brothers, when they bend over, you can see their bodies because we have on shirts or something that now. Hear me out. I know what some of you are going to say. Brother don't even have to have on a shirt. He has to have it from waist to his knees. That's true. If he has nothing else to wear. But you should be covered from your waist to your knees. Your body should be covered. In this day and time, we have the clothes. We're not living in the past where you might not even have anything to wear up top. But we do have things to wear up top. But as far as I know, your buttocks is below your waist. And therefore, we shouldn't see that when you bend over. We should be covered from our waist down. So if we have clothing that may expose your body, then bring something, a jalabia or a thobe or something. Bring something to cover yourself. Even if you have a shirt that'll, anything. We shouldn't see your body, any part of your body, from your waist down. I know this is not what some of you want to hear about the rules of Salaat, but I'm just telling you how it affects us in this day and time in which we live. We rush into the masjid. We don't take time to, you come to Salaat. Have something. Now, normally we have something outside for a brother to cover himself with if he's in that situation. Like the Imam came in today, which he didn't have to, but he put on a throw over his, but he certainly had on a shirt long enough to cover everything. But he put that on because there may be some type of image or something on the shirt that he has on. But he put that on to cover himself. And this is what we should do. We have things outside for that. Remember, and again, I know too, that when we are standing, qiyam, the standing position, which also is a rule of Salat, qiyam, stand if you can stand. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran that we are to stand, we pray standing, or sitting, or laying on your sides. That's Quran. This is what Allah gives us in the Quran. So we can pray in those positions depending on our circumstances. Not because of laziness, but maybe because of illness or injury. Sometimes you can't stand, so you have to sit. If you can't sit, you can lay on your side, which tells us that even in time when we can't even sit up, we can lay on our sides and offer salah. And not jockeying back and forth, but even in our cleanliness part, sometimes you can't perform a ghusl. You may not have to perform it. If you haven't violated anything, you might can't perform it. But the thought is to be as clean as you possibly can. You can wash, and if you can't find water, and you don't wash in dirty water, but if you can't find water, tayammum, you can use sand or dirt. Yes, sir.
What's ghusl?
Sir?
What's ghusl?
A bath.
I know some people who don't know what it is, and we got people that's
ghusl.
Muslims. Yeah.
Thank you. Ghusl is a complete bath, but there's even in the bath, you perform a wudu, but a complete bath, because you also are going through the wudu when you take the ghusl and washing your hands, your mouth, your nose, your face, your arms. Even though you're taking a complete bath, you still go through that. And you don't just, when you wash your feet, it's a little different from wiping over the feet. You wash your feet, and you even go between the toes of the feet. And there's a system for that. And we're going to get into that in detail. Today is just a synopsis of what we're going to have so that you can decide whether or not you know enough about Salat not to need to come here, or whether you want to come here. Because even in the different schools of thought, there are some things that are different. For one another thing, rules of Salat is the takbir tarima. The first, when we say Allahu Akbar, the hadith, different hadiths, well, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he went into Qiyam, Allahu Akbar, first thing he did was to surrender. This is a sign of surrender Allahu Akbar. When the police say, raise your hand, they want you to surrender. And this is what we do. We surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing we do is show surrender. I'm surrendering to Allah and Allah alone. Allahu Akbar. And then we show humbleness. Yeah. Now, some people hold their hands down. These are different schools of thought. But I want you to remember one thing. Even though there are different schools of thought, the prayer is acceptable as long as we follow the basic rules of Salaat, which are time of Salaat, the cleanliness, qiyam, if you can, standing, sitting, or laying on your sides, even the bowing and the prostrations. These are some of the rules of Salaat that we and of course, people, when we talk about conditions of Salat, we're talking about being sane, being of age to know how to perform Salat, and being of a sane mind, being free of intoxication. These are some of the conditions of Salat. And so we need to know the condition in which we should present ourselves to our Lord, our Maker. Because we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to fix us, so to speak. To fix me. I'm broke. I need money. So I'm broke. So fix me. Or I'm morally broke. Fix me. Who knows if you had a gold chain, a very valuable gold chain that you bought from the jeweler? Who would be best to fix that? The jeweler who made it? Or somebody out in the street? Huh? You take it back. You wouldn't take it to an auto mechanic to fix your gold chain. You would take it back to the jeweler who made the chain. If a stone fell out of your ring, you would go back to that jeweler to have the stone put back in that ring if it was valuable. So why not go back to the Maker, the Creator who made us, to fix us? So we're presenting ourselves to our Maker, to the Creator, and asking Him to fix us, to bless us, and to thank Him for even being able to ask Him for that. If someone were to give you $1 million, wouldn't you thank them? Most certainly, you would thank them, but should not we thank Allah, the one who blessed him with that million to give you, and the one who blessed you and I to be alive to receive it? So always Allah first, because whatever we have is from Allah. Whatever good that we have is from Allah. And whatever evils we do is from our disobedience to Allah. Because certainly Allah has given us the guidance. So, and I know something, I'm not going to give you a khutbah, I'm just giving you some instruction, but I have to try to give you the meanings behind the Salat. Some countries that we go in, and if you see, and I understand we had a martial arts training this morning. And I was at a martial arts demonstration last week over at the Boys and Girls Club in Berkeley. Some of the Grand Masters were there. Many Grand Masters were there. And one thing that I noticed that they all did, regardless of what system of martial arts they were in, when they greeted each other, they bowed. Well, we bow too in our Salat. It's a sign of respect. If these men who have mastered these arts of combat, these arts of training, can humble themselves to be humble toward one another, as we should be humble toward each other. But the bowing, in our ruku, after we surrender, what do? We bow, showing honor and respect. And so these are things that we need to understand. Why are we doing it? Is just a senseless ritual, or is it meaningful? Is it a meaningful application of our sincerity to Allah? And of course we know that when we prostrate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is when you put your head on the dirt. Some people, when we came home, from Vietnam. When I did, me and a plane full of soldiers came home from Vietnam. Many didn't know anything about Al-Islam, but they kissed that ground when they got off that plane and their feet hit the ground. They went down there. Have you ever seen that done? People just bow down. They don't know anything. They're not Muslim. They don't know that they're Muslim, but they're so thankful that we thank to be home. We're so thankful to be somewhere, and at the time where you think you're safe, because Allah is as-salam. Now, I know there's some people that might want to argue with me about what I'm about to say. He's as-salam. He's the author of safety. He says, salam means peace, brother. Are you at peace if you're not safe? So Allah is the author of safety. Yes. That's how you get peace. You can't have peace if you're not safe. You're not at peace. You're disturbed. You understand? Anybody got any questions about that statement that I made? Because I know when we talk about attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to be correct. And I'm saying that as-salam means that Allah is the author of peace. And it also does mean, salam does mean peace. But he is the author. And I don't think anybody here, you might, but I think the Imam Ishmael Salim here is probably knows more about being an author than we do, because he's the author of many books. This is the man who put it together. This is the person who puts that together. The author is the one who puts that down in writing. He puts it down the way it is to be understood in his mind. And so can we understand that Allah is the author of safety, and he gives us what we need to know to be safe. He gives us the Quran. He gives us the book. He gives us the safety. So I'm not just going to give you how to make qiyam and ruku and sajda. I want to give you some meaning behind the reason for doing this. Because we have a lot of people who've taken shahada. And they like it because they like what they hear, they like what they see, they like the respect, they like the camaraderie. But they need to understand the meaning of Salat, the importance of Salat, because that's the second pillar of Islam. They've taken shahada, they've done the first pillar. They've acknowledged La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Well, it's ashhadu. And I'm going to say the whole thing. Ashhadu. I bear witness. See, it's different saying, listen carefully now. There's a little bit of difference from saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. La, no. Ilah, deity of God. La ilaha illallah. There is no deity or worship except Allah. Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Oh, that's a statement. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Waqtu la sharika lah. Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. I bear witness. I'm personalizing that. I bear witness. There's a difference between bearing witness and making a statement. Because you can make a statement in court and the statement might be false. It might be true. It might be hearsay. But when you say, I saw it, I see it, I bear witness, you are a witness that Allah is the God. And there's nothing except one God. See, there's a difference in bearing witness to something and saying something. If you see me out there fighting, you saw me fighting. But you can see Latif was out there fighting, that brother, man. I hope no one won't say a sister, but he was out there fighting. But you didn't see it. But you know I was out there fighting. Everybody told you, you came out, the fight was over. Latif beat that brother, man. Said, did you see it? Well, no. Well, you can't bear witness to that. You didn't see it. You weren't there. But we're here bearing witness. There's nothing worthy of worship but Allah. Now I know this seems simple, and you say, this brother, I thought he was going to do something a little different, but we need to start off with basic stuff. And the brother is taping this, and it's going out, and I've been to many masajids throughout the country and overseas. And people talk about Salaat. But we need to talk the language of the people. And this is basically for everybody, but especially for that new brother and sister who are coming into this deen, who want this deen. They like what they see. They like the dedication that Muslims show. They take our work in the middle of a Friday to come to Salaat al-Jum'ah. That's when you be revving up to go out to the club. When we're in the dunya, when we're in the world, you'll be ready up to go to the club. But on Fridays, Muslims be trying to find that hour in which Allah gonna bless them with what they ask for. You know, they say there's an hour on Friday that if you ask for something, you'll be granted it. And that hour has been debated for years. When is that hour? Is it during Jumu'ah, before, after Jumu'ah? You know? And we'll get into that a little later. So I want to read from Quran that what I'm saying is not just some things the scholars come up with. I want to give you what Allah has given us and what His Prophet has exemplified. Oh, you believe, when you prepare for prayer, wash your faces and your hands and arms to the elbows. Rub your heads with water and wash your feet to the ankles. If you are in a state of ceremonial impurity, bathe your whole body. But if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you cometh from offices of nature, or you have been in contact with women and you find no water, then take for yourselves clean sand or earth and rub therewith your faces and your hands. Allah does not wish to place you in a difficulty, but to make you clean and to complete His favor to you, that you may be grateful. This is telling us about both the wudu and the ghusl. That if we are unclean, if men and women have had sex, men and women, hopefully who are married to one another, if you've had sex, that you, but at any rate, even if you have committed a sin and you seek forgiveness, you have to be clean. Perform ghusl. If you've been to the bathroom and defecated or whatever, there are certain things that we have to perform the whole ghusl. And we should take baths as often as possible. But in 5 times a day, I'll paraphrase it now and say, if you wash 5 times a day, you will be clean. You'll be a very clean person. You might not be a perfect person, but you will be a very clean person. So when you offer the 5 salats a day, it helps clean us internally and morally, and we become cleaning ourselves up. And it's not for us to look at anybody else. This is for yourself. And when we have congregational salat, it's multiplied. It's multiplied. Why? Well, if you've been on Hajj, some of you have been on Hajj or Umrah, and there's a feeling that you don't get anywhere else when you're in a group of people like that. Now, unfortunately, I have not performed Hajj. When I was going to Hajj, I had an incident that prevented me from going. But I've been in combat, and I've been in hand-to-hand combat. There's a feeling that you get when you're in hundreds and thousands of people together. There's a force. There's a physical force that you feel like nowhere else, and you would have to be in that situation to understand it. And so when you come to the congregation of Salat, there's a small feeling of that when you get in. After all, when we're in Salat, what we're there for. Look at the beauty of it. We have one person standing out front leading us. that represents the oneness of Allah. And we're all following that one person that represented it in the Salaat. We're following them in the Salaat. We're following them in what? Thanking Allah and worshiping Allah. So don't think of that individual personality or their name. We're following someone in the worship of Allah. And that's it. I don't like that, brother. I ain't gonna pray behind him. Why not? He's performing the Salat correctly. Why would you mind? Because I don't like his attitude. But right now right now his attitude is worshiping Allah. And you're gonna refuse. So you say that somebody is so strong and powerful that they will stop you from worshiping Allah, even though Allah has commanded us to worship Him, even though the Prophet has exemplified this. So we need to think about what we're doing, what we're saying in our communities. You know, Salat brings about unity. The congregation Salat, not division. We shouldn't even be thinking about not following somebody in Salat because we don't like that person. Maybe if we follow them Salat, maybe if our mind was concentrating on the reason for Salat, we would all begin to like one another. Why? Because we all are putting Allah first. And if we start putting Allah first, then we'll have a better life and better Salat. Again, I don't want to deviate too much, but it's almost impossible for me to teach about Salat without going into some other things. Because after all, isn't Salat to help us live our daily lives? When we say tashahud, the tashahud. Does everybody know what tashahud? At-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiy wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna ala abdihi salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. That is called the tashahud, or it is called the at-tahiyyat. The first part is called the at-tahiyyat. And the second part is called the salawat. Is anybody that after the first two rak'ahs, we say, if we're doing 3-4 rak'ah prayer, you say the whole thing if it's 2 rak'ah. After the first 2 rak'ah, we say, at-tahiyyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyibat. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiy wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu ala abdihi salihin. And we get back up. That's the tahiyyat. Yeah, that's the thankfulness and the glorifying of Allah and magnification and glorification of Allah. Then, in salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's the salawat. That's to send blessings. Salawat. Now remember, in the first part, we say, at-tahiyyatu lillah. We're giving the praises and thanks to Allah. At-tahiyyatu lillah. Then we say, wa salawati. And the salawat. And the blessing that we're sending. So the first part is the at-tahiyyat. And the second part is the salawat. We say the first sentence that we say, at-tahiyyatu lillah. Wa salawati. The very statements in itself telling you what you're doing. The first part, you're showing gratitude and thankfulness to Allah. And the second part, salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. We're sending blessings upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, if you knew that already, then you knew that, because we've been saying it. We've been saying it over and over in our salat, but we need to understand the differences of it. The first part we say in the 2 rak'ah, say the whole thing in the 2 rak'ah. But if it's more than 2 rak'ah, the second rak'ah, we say the tahiyyah and we get up. And then we finish the third for Maghrib or the Dhuhr and the Isha, or we say the rest of the Salaat in the second part of the prayer. Anybody got anything they want to say? I mean, because this is not just me talking. Yes, sir.
I had something that you said, and I just wanted to emphasize is you were talking about different schools of thought, and some people have their hands down.
Yes.
That's important, especially for the new shahadas, because if they go to another community, they may think, what's going on here? It happened to me, actually. I had never experienced it in my entire life until I went to a masjid, a new masjid, relatively new, on Tower Drive, and then everybody had their hands down. They were kind of far apart. I'm like, we don't want that kind of stuff. But then I realized everybody was doing it, and then I realized it was another
school of thought.
So, you could initially think of somebody's doing something to you or what's going on here, but if you don't know the different schools of thought and you don't know just the different methods of people's prayer, then you may think they're doing something that's off kill or something that's bid'ah, but people have different stances in the Salat.
And they have support for it.
Right.
That's the important thing. And they have support for it. The prophet has been seen praying that way, regardless of why. See, this is why I'm attempting to give you the reasoning behind it. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you said that, because I left something out that I wanted to give, but we don't necessarily do it here. In the Adhan, the way the Adhan is called is universal. But I have been to places where people were calling the Adhan differently, and when I asked why, the brother said, he showed me the hadith that the prophet taught Abu Madura. They were on their way back from a battle, and they were calling the Adhan, the Muezzin, Bilal, calling the Adhan, and they heard somebody imitating it in the distance. What in the world? That. So the prophet said, go find out who that is. And they went and found him, and I think it was 10 young people. They didn't like Muslims. They were just making mockery of him. But he had a voice, a good voice. And so when they asked him, the prophet said, who was that? And all 9 of them snitched on him when they said it was him. They said it was him, Abu Madura. And so the prophet told him, say it again. He told him, call that name. You say that again. So the brothers, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The prophet put his hand on his head. And when he got to, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. When he got to the Shahadatain, when he got to, part of Allah, nothing worthy of worship but Allah, Muhammad's messenger, the prophet, after he said it, the prophet said, repeat it. And he repeated it. And he accepted that Islam that day. He accepted that because they were afraid that the prophet was going to do something to them. But the prophet did that to instill Islam in his heart. And it said that Abu Madura wouldn't cut that part of his hair no more when the prophet touched. He said he wouldn't even do that. And so he eventually asked the prophet because he wanted to be the Muezzin of Mecca. And the prophet made him a Muezzin of Mecca. And the people came to the prophet and said, this brother, he's reciting the Adhan wrong. Because we say, we only say it twice. Well, he said it, and then he repeated it in the Adhan, just like the prophet told him. So this, in the hadith, is specific for him. And the prophet allowed him to do that. But the way that Adhan is called it, the way that Bilal called it, the way that we heard it called today. The way that that's universal. And so I was in a community one time that the brother called it. I said, what are you doing? He showed me the hadith. I said, brother, I don't need to see that. I said, I read that 1,000 times. I said, do you know the history behind it? And he didn't. It just showed that the prophet taught the Adhan to Abu Madura or to a man. And this is what he told him to say. But they didn't have the hadith. They thought they had discovered something. And a specific hadith is different from a general hadith. And you have to understand the difference or know the difference. And so you just can't do everything, especially something that was specific for someone at some particular time. Like the hadith, where when you come in for Salaat and the Imam is teaching, and you're late, you don't come in stepping over people and trying to do some sunnahs. You're already late. You're late. Now you want to disturb everybody because you couldn't get the Salaat on time. You should join in and be humble. And also you should listen to the Imam. That's part of the Jummah khutbah on Friday. If the Imam is giving the khutbah and you're late, you should listen to the Imam. That's the blessing. Listen to what the Imam is talking. Whoever the Imam is, whoever the Khatib. I won't say Imam. Khatib, the person that's giving the talk, is not always the Imam. But listen to them. Because if they're doing it from their heart and sincerity, then Allah is working through them to the best that they have within them to bring you the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You listen to them. You don't. Now, there is a hadith where the man entered the masjid. And the Prophet said, have you performed your sunnah? Have you performed the sunnah? He told me to do it. Prophet stopped until he finished, and then he proceeded with the khutbah.
But was that at a Jummah, or that was just at a time, the Imam was talking?
No, it was Jummah.
That was at a Jummah?
Prophet stopped. He stopped and waited till that brother finished. He did it because this brother was someone that the Prophet wanted the people to acknowledge. He wanted to acknowledge that. We might say amongst ourselves, this is Brother so-and-so, he's from Indianapolis, and he's new here. And after the khutbah, we might say, the brother's having a hard time. Help him out if you can, such and such and such. But you want to acknowledge that this is a believer. You know him, but the rest of the believers don't. You know his situation, and the rest don't. This was a brother the Prophet wanted to give some attention to, and he wanted the Sahaba to give attention to this brother and to acknowledge this brother. Because when Umar, correct me if I'm wrong, when Umar came in, I think it was one of his close Sahaba, one of the caliphs came in. He told him to sit down. Yeah. When he came in one time, he said, sit down. In other words, don't be stepping over people. Sit down. Because this is what we do when we come to Jummah. But the beauty of it all is that we should understand that when someone comes in for Salah and they're doing a sunnah, their intent is to be obedient to Allah. We need to look at that too. Even if they're making a mistake, and if we can correct that later now. Now we're not going to make Salat an argument or a fight. We'll defeat the whole purpose. But we have to understand why certain things are done. Like I said, one of the reasons I dressed this way today is because there's a hadith. Basically the hadith says, wear what you like as long as you're decent. But we have aura. The aura is the parts of our body, our private parts that we should protect and we should, cover. And most people think it only applies to the sisters. It applies to us too. Yeah. Wear your good clothes now. Wear your best clothes. But don't have your body shown. For the brothers, it's between the waist and the knees. We should not see anything of our bodies when we're upon us. When we've been over, nobody should have to see our behinds. And we need to tell each other that when a brother leaving out, brother, look here, I know you might not realize, but when you've been over, man, your buttocks was in your face. We got stuff out here that you can put on. But don't be cruel and don't run nobody away because they may not know. I don't care if they've been coming here 5 years. They may not know that we have dress code too. They obviously don't know. Why am I saying that? Because some of the brothers I see and I have spoken to about it, oh man, okay, thank you, man. You know, good brother. They just, you know, we live in a world that's fast paced, and they take time out to come here. Think about that. They take time out to come here for Salaat al-Jum'ah. That's a good intent to start with. So don't be cruel and run nobody out of here. Don't be cruel to the brothers or the sisters in particular, but don't be cruel to anybody. Now again, the timing of the Salat, all in the Quran, and I think I don't have I left my watch in, but I'm getting ready to end this because
you covered wudu. So is it different schools of thought, like when you're making the wudu and you know
the way they do the hands,
go around your neck?
Tell me the way they do their hands.
Yeah, because when you did it, you didn't cover that. So is that there's different schools of thought on that?
People have different ways of doing it. Some people, when they wash their hands, and then you wash your mouth, rinse your mouth out. And some people, they pull the water up and they'll hold the left hand and they'll blow it out, rinse the noses out. And then after that, you wash your face afterwards. So if there's any residue from anything, you wash your face. And then you wash your elbow. But as far as the washing the hand, it just tells us to run our hands over our head. And the ears, some people do it this way, some do it that way, and some wash it this. There is no instructions to go all the way around your neck. Some do it.
Right. Imam, when he was...
There are no instructions to do that.
I say Imam, he's, say use the back of your hand, and that's when you go on the fish party and come around there. Yeah. So I didn't know if
this is style.
Yeah,
it has to do with school of thought, and it has to do with seeing someone that you respect and acknowledge do a certain thing. I don't want to miss. I believe it was Umar one time. This is not about that. He was sitting a certain way, and in the Salat, and because of an injury, he had to sit that way in Salat, and he was asked about it. And he told his son was trying to follow what he was doing. He said, no, don't do that. He said, but you do it. He said, I can't say it because I do it because of this. But the proper way is this way. He said, and people are watching, so we have to do things which are proper. And sometimes, I'm glad you said that. When we do something, sometimes people are watching us and they say, I know he knows, so I'm gonna do what he did because I know he knows. And so people are watching us, and I had to learn that myself. People are watching us. So when you do something, just like you just said, you see people, rub the head, put in the hand, rub the ear, do the head, then you wash the feet. But there's no exact particular way that you have to hold your hands when you're washing your head. I mean, a man with a messed up wrist might have to do it that way. I mean, you don't know. But the thing is, that
cover, going around your neck is what I was.
That's not. Hold on. Where was it? Let's see. Time, attention, given. 4. Well, 3. Let's go Quran. There's nowhere that says that you have to go around your neck. It says your head. In the back of the neck, see, that's part of you attached to your head attached to your neck. So, but it tells us to, in the Quran, I've just read it, that we washed our hands. You see, your face, your nose, your face. You rinse your mouth, your nose, your face, elbows, arms up to the elbows. and wipe the hand over the head and the feet. Now, in the wudu, you don't have to. There's no instruction that you go between the toes. You can. Some people do. But in ghusl, there's specific instructions to go between the toes when you take the complete bath. There are differences. And of course, you would wash that neck if you're taking a complete ghusl. Time up, amen?
Yeah, we got about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
What I did want to mention is he was talking about different schools of thought on it, or different methods. There's some people that do one hand and go over their head. Some people that do two, and then some people do it 3 times, like they do their hands 3 times and do their mouth 3 times. And I think Imam Fareed says to do it 1 time over the head and then 1 time in the ears. But there's some people who do it 3 times.
Do it 3
everything
times.
3 times.
So
Again, it's not that they are wrong. They're trying to do it, according to their school of thought.
this is a good book by Imam Fareed, but there are some things we're going to get into here, and I don't want to cause controversy, but this is a good book by Imam Fareed. This book is called the Islamic Jurisprudence, called Al-Fiqh al-Madhabi al-Abara. Now, this book is the Islamic Jurisprudence this is the prayer book. This is just a prayer book, according to the 4 schools of thought. So all the differences, and we're going to be teaching from here. But as you can see, this is just on prayer. And this is just one volume. But there are 4 schools. And so the way that we do that, we should not, and I'm glad you asked that question. What I don't want anybody to do is go out here accusing somebody else of doing wrong. Because different schools of thought do it a different way. And the key is that their intent is to be right. And they're doing what they were taught, or they're doing what they saw. And there's no intent on them to make an innovation in the deen. And through classes like this, and questions like this, is what we're going to do. And I'm going to be asking questions too. For instance, how many points of the body, I'm going to end it right here. How many points of the body touch the floor when you're offering salat? And when you're in sajda, how many points of the body touch the floor?
7?
8.
7? He said 8. Which one is it?
What you say?
I said 7.
Anybody else? Huh?
8.
8, yeah.
How many is it?
I got 8. I got the nose and the forehead, the hands, your knees, and the feet. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Now see, some say 7 and some say 8. Let me tell you why some say 7. Because the nose and the head is the face. They just count that as 1. And some count it as 2.
I didn't count it, but I remember somebody saying 7 points. And then I just, when I did the demonstration, I realized it is 8.
Yeah.
Those 2.
The 7 points are referring to the forehead and the nose.
But some people, when they make salat, they make it for their forehead and they don't do the nose. They put emphasis on their forehead. They be rocking on their forehead.
That's 7.
Yeah, I say.
7 points. But 8 parts. Because the point is that the head and the nose is what? Face. That's the face. That's just the way some people. And now there's a point right there that I was showing you where we're not going to argue about that. We're not going to argue about it. And the reason, that's why I asked that question. I'm going to be asking questions too. Right. We've been praying how long?
100 years.
I've been praying like this for 56 years.
Right.
I have. I've been praying like this for 56 years. I'm almost 77. I think a lot. But I've been praying this way for 56 years. And I know that there are differences. And it's really like choice. You want 8, 7.
As big as that book is, you know it's going to be.
For that book?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got some more books. I just brought this just for effect. To show you that who knows all of this?
Right.
Find a way that you're comfortable with, that's acceptable, and stick to that. And if you go somewhere else where somebody's doing that, follow the man. And accept that this is the way, this is an acceptable way. And if you're on Juma, you're there to listen to the khutbah, not to criticize or find anything wrong. You're there to listen to the khutbah and to receive the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anybody got any more questions?
That's all I got. We got
well, and you were saying in the sitting position, you know, you was trying to touch on when you're sitting, you know, in the sitting position, you know, like, is there different schools of thought on you know, setting with your foot out versus with it not being out?
Yeah, every position has a method of sitting, and even when I wasn't going to get to this today, but I will. When you're doing the finger.
No, I'm more so, you know, like when you're sitting, but you might just sitting when you listen to the khutbah and you're sitting with your foot stretched out versus fold back. Is that different schools of thought?
There are different schools of thought. And then again, I was telling about the brother that was sitting a particular way, and he told his son not to do it. He had to sit that way because of his situation. Some people might not be able to sit a certain way, and they're not in violation of the Salaat. I've had a hip replacement. All of this on my right side, from here to my knee, is titanium. I've had a broken left leg also. So I sit certain ways. And I've had to modify doing certain things that I do in my skills and my arts. I had to modify that to accommodate. But in my Salaat, I also had to modify certain things because I've been broken up. I've been really broken up. Broken shoulder, broken arms, hip replacement, this leg. I know you look at me, you might not notice it, but I know. And so certain people can't sit certain ways, and they're still okay. But the one thing, when you're sitting with your legs stuck out, don't have your hands back behind you. Don't support yourself on your hands, because we have instructions from the Prophet not to do that. I'm glad you asked that. But you know, you shouldn't. You're not here to lay around. You know, always maintain a sense of decency and pride in your Salaat. This will kill all that. You know, we ain't here just laying around with your hands all on the side. Sit up, erect. Remember, we're facing Allah. We're not the Khatib who's standing here represents the oneness, and he's bringing you the message. He should be bringing you the message of Allah, and so we should always approach the message of Allah with dignity and respect. This is the way we sit, with dignity and respect. We're going to get back into it. Now, I don't know when I'm coming back, but when I come back, I will have some handouts. I didn't have handouts this week because I won't want to bring anything to anybody just to give them something. But I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to ask me questions. And we together, with all these literatures that we have, we can find the answer, but not my answer, but the answers that we've given us. Because Prophet Muhammad was the example.
Well, look at that one. You know,
I looked at it.
Pointed to the Qibla, because that's what it was stressed. You know, like not holding your foot out.
I never heard that one.
What?
Well, it has something to do with the sole of your foot. And
like when you were sitting listening to the Khatib, I never even thought about it. I don't know about that one at all. I know people sit in different ways. I know that I've heard imams talk about this, that we are designed.
Actually, the way, when we say sitting, the sitting position at Islam is different from the sitting position that you're in now. The sitting position in Islam, this is the sitting position. There are some people who can sit like this all day. I can't. But I can't bend this because it's titanium. But
I'm
you talking about sitting.
That's like that versus, you know, because they were saying it's something about showing your soles of your foot to the wall.
That was made up by a man.
Well, that's why I was
okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's not sunnah. That's not sunnah.
So even in making Umrah in the mosque, you know, they are correct you, even if you sitting, because some places when you're traveling in the mosque, some people they carry the shoes with them. And somebody, they're like a correct you, like nudge you and tell you, you know, when you had your shoes with you and you had your sole of the shoes towards the Qibla versus same thing about that city. Yeah. You know, they're just kind of like correct you that you should.
Different schools do different things.
So they wouldn't be facing the Qibla.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to stop this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying we got to go take up this at another time because he only gave me 2 more minutes. But this is not the Sunnah. This is not the Sunnah. This is the way that people choose to do things, and they're not violating.
Well, schools of thought, being you want some people.
Well, I will, brother, but I can't get through it all today.
So inshallah, he'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll continue with this. We knew this was not going to be able to end today.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that.
All right, y'all. I'm about to be on the book club in like 1 minute. Alhamdulillah.
I'm gonna take this over here.